Shopify Shop, Beginner's Guide. If you have ever bought something online from a small brand and the checkout looked nice, smooth, and almost identical no matter which store you visited, there is a very good chance you were quietly using Shopify. Shopify is the company that powers the online stores of millions of merchants, from a one-person candy shop on Instagram all the way up to brands like GM, L'Oreal, and Victoria's Secret. Quick reminder before we go further, this is an educational overview, not investment advice. We are only here to understand the business. So, what does Shop actually do? Shopify sells two big things that work together. The first is called Subscription Solutions, which is basically the monthly software fee merchants pay to use Shopify, the website builder, the inventory tools, the dashboards. Think of it like Netflix, but for running a store. This part is small in revenue terms, about $2.8 billion last year, roughly a quarter of the total, but it is extremely high margin because once the software is built, signing up the next merchant costs Shopify almost nothing. The second and much bigger piece is called Merchant Solutions, which brought in about $8.8 billion last year, around 3/4 of the total. That side is mostly Shopify payments. When a customer pays at a Shopify checkout, Shopify processes the credit card and takes a small cut, similar to how Visa or Stripe make money. It also includes shipping labels, point-of-sale hardware for physical stores, and small business loans Shopify makes to its own merchants through a product called Shopify Capital. Here's the scale that ties it all together. In the last quarter alone, $101 billion of goods were sold across all Shopify stores worldwide. That is the GMV, or gross merchandise volume, which is just the total dollar value of stuff people bought through Shopify. That works out to more than a $400 billion per year run rate. Shopify operates in over 175 countries and powers more than 14% of US e-commerce. So when you really break it down, Shopify is two businesses bolted together, a software subscription business and a payments business, riding on top of a giant flow of online shopping. So who does Shop compete with, and how does it win? The competition is real and worth being honest about. On one side, Amazon dominates US e-commerce as a marketplace, where the customer relationship belongs to Amazon, not the brand. Shopify takes the opposite approach. It lets brands own their own store and their own customers. On the payment side, Stripe and PayPal compete directly with Shopify payments. So Shopify is not unchallenged, and the analysts who study it actually rate its competitive position as narrow, which is the middle rating, meaningful advantages, but not a fortress. So what does Shopify do well? 3 things stand out. First, after 20 years of running stores, Shopify has a catalog of more than 1 billion products that AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Google now use to recommend things to shoppers. Shopify says shoppers convert at roughly twice the rate when AI uses Shopify's catalog versus a generic web search. Second, there is something called a network effect, meaning each new user makes the product more valuable for everyone else. Shop Pay, Shopify's one-click checkout, processed about $35 billion last quarter, up 59%, because shoppers can save their card once on any Shopify store and reuse it everywhere. Third, the more services a merchant uses, store, payments, point of sale, business-to-business tools, the higher the switching cost, meaning the more painful it is to leave. A merchant using just the basic plan can switch easily, but a merchant running their whole operation on Shopify essentially can't. What are the key drivers for the business over the past 5 years? Over the last 5 years, 3 forces have driven this business forward. The first is Shopify payments getting much bigger as a slice of all the shopping happening on the platform. 5 years ago, only about 46% of payments on Shopify ran through Shopify payments. The rest went through outside processors like Stripe. Today that number is 67% and climbing. Same merchants, same shoppers, but Shopify earns more on every transaction. Total GMV also tripled, going from $120 billion in 2020 to $378 billion in 2025, with Shopify payments expanding into 39-plus countries, including 15 new European Union markets and Mexico just last year. The second driver is what the company calls operating leverage, which is just a fancy way of saying revenue is growing much faster than expenses. Shopify's employee headcount has stayed roughly flat for 3 years, even as the business grew massively. Management says AI now writes more than half of their code, and their internal AI tools, including one called Sidekick, make each employee more productive. The result is that operating expenses dropped from a much higher share of revenue to about 37% last quarter, and gross profit, the money left over after the direct cost of running payments and the platform, has grown about 29% per year over the last 3 years. The third driver is moving upmarket into bigger customers. 5 years ago, Shopify was mostly known for tiny entrepreneurs. Today, it powers serious enterprise brands, and the number of merchants doing $100 million plus on Shopify has doubled in just 2 years. Recent wins include LVMH brands like Mulberry and Balmain, plus Land's End, Orvis, and Victoria's Secret. Business-to-business commerce, meaning one business selling to another business rather than to a consumer, grew 80% last year and is now a meaningful new layer on top. To wrap up, so in one sentence, Shopify is a software plus payments platform that lets anyone, from a teenager selling phone cases to a global luxury brand, run an online and offline store, take payments, ship products, and reach customers across 175 countries. As a learner, the things to keep an eye on are simple. Watch whether Shopify Payments keeps taking share inside the platform. Watch whether AI-powered shopping through ChatGPT and similar tools actually drives more sales through Shopify's catalog. And watch the enterprise customer wins, because those are the stickiest, highest value merchants. Remember, this is educational only, not investment advice, just a way to understand what the business actually does.